In USA, every year, 48 million people get sick, 128,000 are hospitalized, and 3,000 die of food poisoning. If an outbreak comes from a high-risk caterer, such as a cruise ship or an airline, authorities want to see evidence that the food in question was cooked, chilled, handled, and stored at the correct temperatures for the right amount of time. This data is recorded for hundreds of batches of food at up to 7 points in its preparation every single day. This is called food traceability, and this is not the problem. The problem is that to do this, technology is limited to pens, paper, thermometers, and clocks. Relying on memory and discipline and involving hundreds of staff, this process is so difficult to follow it invariably fails, leading caterers to falsify their records. This means that there is true food traceability, a high degree of risk profile, and a massive labour cost to business. Introducing QAMC, the future of food safety compliance. It's a handheld device with a temperature probe, an IR sensor, a barcode scanner, and a touchscreen which guides the user through the temperature recording and labelling process. QAMC takes the shared responsibility of 100 staff and it gives it to a handful of users, saving enormous amounts of labour. It gives it unprecedented end-to-end food traceability, it reduces risk profile, it saves money, but it also liberates chefs from this crazy process and allows them to focus on what they're really employed to do. Our business model is SaaS plus hardware with a price per device and per printer per month with an additional revenue stream from the labels totaling $110,000 per client per annum. We have down payments on 3 customers despite still being in development. Our target markets currently spend $10 billion on the primitive pen and paper process. QAMC is an automated solution which will save an enormous amount of labour, give us a SAM of $4.5 billion per annum. We're aiming for $40 million in ARR by year 5 across these key sectors. We do have competitors, but they're only focused on the small volume catering sector, such as cafeterias and schools, where there's no real requirement for traceability. And in order to protect our first mover advantage, we have a patent pending on QAMC. As an executive chef in charge of multi-million-dollar catering operations, I know this problem, and I've felt the pain of it for years. Our CTO, Ned, was named Microsoft's APAC technology strategist for BizTalk, and he's a software and hardware integration expert. And with the top CMO and advisors across global clients and business strategy, we are the team to bring ROI to our investors. We've got committed 250 of it's actually wrong, $400,000 raise, which will complete our development, initiate our pilots, and get product market fit in Australia before international expansion at Series A. Let caterers no longer rely on pen and paper to protect your health and the integrity and efficiency of their businesses. QAMC. Welcome to the future of food safety compliance.
Nice job, David. Round of applause. Perfect timing. Judges, Q&A, 3 minutes.
Can you explain to us what your competitive advantages are?
Yes, competitive advantages are the fact that we are designing a system that gives you true end-to-end traceability, the ability to have a digital map of every component's journey from chef through to customer, and also the fact that we are using a handheld device which sandwiches or hybridizes all of the tools that you require into a single handheld device, which, as we know from our, not just my own experience, but our extensive market research, is really important for our chefs in the kitchens.
Hey, just thinking about the sales process, I could see a caterer, I guess depending on the size of the revenue, their annual revenue, but you're saying that the annual revenue from each client is about $110,000.
It does vary greatly per sector, but yeah.
Yeah. So average. I'm curious, if I'm a caterer of a medium size and I see that, how do you overcome potential sticker shock, and how do you show that value proposition, say, in the first year for an average client?
Yeah, well, we are accepting of the fact that caterers will be potentially given sticker shock if it's an annual contract value. It's a monthly rate that we will be charging, so that minimises that kind of impact. But also, we've done studies. Our pricing has been trialled with all of our customers, and it's based on the enormous savings that they make in shift time reduction and also in headcount reduction. So we're testing our product at the moment in a couple of caterers to measure those metrics, and it confirms that they can actually save about, the current cost is about $370,000 per client for that process, but this saves them about $220,000. So it's a big saving for them.
You have a great team. I just want to understand that what features do you offer differently that the big, say, airlines like Cathay they can do the same process, considering they do the logistics of the food, they build, and then they go to their flight. So what is the different feature that QA/MC would offer to Cathay? That is it the cost? Is it the efficacy of your product?
Well, I'm actually visiting Cathay Pacific's Centre of Catering Excellence on Friday, so I'll be able to assess their specific requirements myself when I go there. I visited Gate Gourmet, LSG Sky Chefs, Alpha Flight Services, like all of the big guys, not specific to Cathay Pacific, and I'm not sure who their caterer is. But I went to them thinking, well, they must have some really amazing custom solutions, and they must have, of course. And I was coming from an independent operator, so I thought maybe I didn't have my access to that kind of product. But when I went to visit them and I looked at the cook-chill process, what we call the documentation process, and I said, well, how do you do this? And they said, well, yeah, pen and paper, of course. And we do have potentially labeling capability, but it doesn't work, so we're handwriting all of our labels. And that's for a place that was doing 25,000 meals per day. We did an international survey to assess the standards or current standards across the world, and they all concur. They're all primitive. They're all pen and paper. So, yeah.
That's all the time we have. Thank you so much, David. Nice work. Make sure to